Hello, Year 8s. This week's topic is quadrilaterals. So make sure your books are open. You've got heading quadrilaterals. We're talking about polygons that have four sides. So polygons, of course, we did this last week, closed shapes made up of straight lines. The number of sides tells you the name. The hexagons have got 6 sides and the octagons have got 8 sides. The four-sided ones are quadrilaterals, and that's what we're looking at today. We've got some definitions to start you off. Adjacent means next to, and I could be talking about the person who's sitting next to you, or I could be talking about the sides that are next to each other on a polygon. Right angles have 90 degrees. Congruent means the same. So the sides, the two sides that are opposite each other on a rectangle are congruent. They're the same length. Or we could be talking about congruent angles, which are the same size. Parallel means going in the same direction. And another one I just thought of is vertex, which means corner, which is the angle where the two sides meet. It's called a vertex. If I'm talking about more than one of them, I call them vertices. That's the plural. Okay. What I would like you to do to start with is stop the video and draw some quadrilaterals, ones that you know the names of, and then write down what you know about them. So stop the video, do that, and then I'll show you what I did. Here they come. I've got rectangle. I've got a parallelogram. I've got a trapezium. There's another trapezium. There's a kite. It's not called a diamond. Some of you may have heard it called that before. I think that's what they call them in America. We call them kites. That's a rhombus, and that is a square. So a quadrilateral doesn't have to be something with a special name. Here's one. Pretend that I did this with straight sides. There you go, there's a four-sided shape, it's a quadrilateral, and it doesn't fit into any of those other ones. So it's just its own type of quadrilateral. And we define them by their vertices, their corners. We define them by the sides and whether they're parallel or whether they're the same as each other, whether they're congruent. That's why we needed those words. So a rectangle, for example, has 2 pairs of congruent sides. There's one pair of congruent sides. Here's another pair of congruent sides. It also has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So we need a little arrow for the parallel symbol like that. And this one, we're going to put 2 arrows to show that they're parallel to each other, but not parallel to this other side. Also, the angles. So we draw a right angle symbol in the corner to show that the rectangle has right angles. And we can do the same with a square. It's got 4 congruent sides, so we can put the same symbol on all 4 sides. We can put the right angle in there. 2 right angles is enough, then the other 2 have to be right. The kite has got 2 pairs of adjacent congruent sides. There's one pair of sides that are adjacent and congruent, same length. And here's another pair of sides that are adjacent and congruent. Now, rhombus has 4 sides of the same length, like a square. It's kind of like a square, except that it doesn't have the right angles in the corner. It also has the parallel sides. There they are. Those 2 are parallel. Those 2 are parallel. Trapezium over here, this trapezium has 1 pair of parallel sides. I thought I drew another trapezium. Doesn't matter. There you go. The parallelogram has got 2 sets of parallel sides. It's also got 2 sets of congruent sides. So we're going to try and organise this into some kind of, what's the word? Into some kind of flow chart. So from the beginning, here we go, from here, that's where we're up to. I did draw another kind of trapezium. Here we go. On a nice clean sheet of paper, I want you to put a heading of quadrilaterals in a box. Try and keep it similar to what I've drawn here so that it's going to fit nicely on the page. It doesn't matter if it ends up being a bit of a mess as long as we get there in the end. So quadrilaterals can be sorted into trapeziums, which have one pair of parallel sides, into kites, which have two pairs of congruent adjacent sides. These two are congruent. These two adjacent sides are congruent. These two adjacent sides are congruent. Two pairs of congruent adjacent sides, or neither of those. And actually, there's some that can be both as well. So we're going to go back to that page of quadrilaterals, and we're going to sort them into trapeziums, kites, or neither. Stay there. Okay, let's get a highlighter. And let's have trapeziums, which have one pair of parallel sides. Anything that has a pair of parallel sides is a trapezium. Oh, there we go. It's parallel sides here. This one has parallel sides. This one has parallel sides. This one has parallel sides. All of these are types of trapeziums. This one, no parallel sides. So let's go now. We've got trapeziums. The mouse isn't working properly. That's got it. Kites that have two pairs of adjacent congruent sides. So this one also has two pairs of adjacent congruent sides, and so does this one. So all the yellow ones are trapeziums, all the green ones are kites, and the rhombus and the square fit into both categories. Here we go. Trapeziums can be sorted into parallelograms, which have two pairs of parallel sides. So they all have one pair, some of them have two pairs, or not parallelograms. So they've got two pairs, or they don't have two pairs. Let's go and sort those. So out of all the trapeziums, all the ones that are yellow, let's find out which ones are parallelograms. Let's make them pink. The parallelograms have got two pairs of parallel sides. There they are. Two pairs of parallel sides, two pairs of parallel sides, and not. So 4 of those trapeziums are also parallelograms. Let's go and sort them a little bit further. So far, the rhombus and the square are all of those. They're kites, they're trapeziums, and they're parallelograms. Okay. Now the kites over here, I think that's where I'm up to. Yes, the kites can be sorted into rhombuses, which have the two pairs of congruent adjacent sides, but also have two pairs of parallel sides. The two pairs of parallel sides and all sides are congruent, or they're not rhombuses. So the kites are either rhombuses or they're not rhombuses. Let's go sort those. Here are the three, these 3 are kites, right? The green ones are all kites. So let's go and sort those kites into rhombuses. Now a rhombus has 4 congruent sides, 2 pairs of parallel sides. So this one is a rhombus and a kite. This one is a rhombus and a kite. But this one here, this is a kite, but not a rhombus. So I'll rub that red out. Get the mouse to work. There we go. Okay, back to the chart. All right, parallelograms can be sorted into ones that are rectangles, which have the 2 pairs of parallel sides, but also have all their vertices right angles. They can be sorted into rhombuses, which have the 2 pairs of parallel sides and have all the sides congruent, and into neither. So we'll go back and we'll sort our parallelograms. Now, parallelograms are yellow. So, no, they're not. Parallelograms are pink. So out of all the parallelograms, we can sort them into rectangles. Let's see. This one is a rectangle because it has the right angles, and this one is a rectangle because it has right angles. And we can sort them into rhombuses. What color? Let's make rhombuses light blue. Rhombuses that have the two pairs of adjacent same congruent sides that have four sides that are parallel. And that's that one and that one. So a square is a rectangle, a kind of rectangle. It's also a kind of trapezium. It's a kind of parallelogram. It's a kind of kite. It's a kind of rhombus. And what's the red one for? I've lost track. Let's go back to the chart. All right, one more. The rectangles can be sorted into rectangles that are squares, which have two pairs of parallel sides, which have all vertices as right angles, and which have all sides congruent, or they're not squares. So the rectangles are either squares or they're not squares. We'll go back to that in a minute. And the rhombuses can be squares if they have, we've got the first two, the two pairs of parallel sides. All sides are congruent, but also they have the right angles. So a rhombus with right-angled sides is a square, and a rhombus without right-angled sides is not a square. So that's the end of that chart. We'll copy it down, and we'll go back to the other page. Here we go.